Hello, welcome to the next edition of Competitive List. Today I got 9 spicy decks that we got either a 5-0 or maybe one a prelim or something like that I think could be competitive enough for you guys to try out. They're not necessarily quote unquote mainstream, which is the point of the series. I want to promote decks that are not meta decks necessarily. So that is the goal, and I think I got 9 decks you guys might like to try out. And like I said, all these decks, like all the other episodes, are in the description. There's also a link to my Discord channel if you want to join. And if you like this kind of content, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, share this video if you like, and let's get into the deck list. Make sure you comment down below what your favorite deck is and what decks you want me to look out for, right, going forward in future series of this. So let's get into it. So first on my list is Grixis midrange. Now what's kind of sweet about this deck is it has Halo Forager. Of course it has like this, the generic stuff like Push, Harvester, Croxa, Fable, and Shieldred too, I believe. Or not. There's no Shieldred. That's a bonus points to me. Because it's one of the best cards to run, so it's kind of nice to not see it. But Halo Forager, Corpse Appraiser is one of the best reasons to be in blue. And then of course you have Fairy Mastermind, which is a pretty good tempo play. You have 3 Spell Pierces with the Thoughtseize, Duress. So there's a lot of 1-drop interaction in this deck. And then of course we have Drown on the Locks for removal and counter spells. But sideboard, we have Stroke as a way to fight through control. Also helps against mono green. And we have a Grasp as a way to kill Teferi as well as mono green. We have Liliana the Veil for control. We have Damping Sphere for Lotus Field. We have Go Blink also for control and graveyard hate. Extinction Event for mono green and aggro. That is Grixis midrange for Pioneer. If you're interested in a midrange deck, try this one out instead of the generic Rakdos midrange deck that everyone plays. So try it out if you're interested in midrange. Let's get into the next. Next on my list is a deck that was played by and got 5-0 by Sam, better known as Island Go Me. Island Go Sam Me. He piloted a Jund, Coco / Bolos Citadel deck. The deck does consist of, the Innkeepers, Mayhem Devil, which is the main reason to go into red. We have Sifter as our and Woe Rider to make multiple bodies for 3 mana. We have Goose to ramp us with. It also makes treasure tokens. Makes food tokens, which you can stack to Mayhem Devil to get extra pings. And we have 3 Llanowar Elves, 2 Mystics, and then we have 4 Gooses. So we have a decent amount of 1-drops. And we have Priests and the Forgotten Gods as our combo piece. The one issue that you might experience with this deck, you need to make sure you look out for, is the red mana, right? So like you have to pilot your mana in a way where you can maybe get the red for Mayhem Devil without screwing you over with the other colors you need, since this is only 1 card that needs it. So I am kind of wondering why you need this many pathways. Like maybe you could just up your shocks or something to make it a little bit better. But I do get you need the life for Bolos' Citadel. So I'm not sure how you actually can accomplish it. Maybe it's just running more fast lands, but maybe 6 to 8. 8's the maximum I think you could run of fast lands. So that is some maybe considerations. Mana base could be looked into a little bit more. But we have Fatal Pushes for the Elves. Also can get 3 drops in mono green. And also is just good against aggro, right? We have Thoughtseize for combo and control. Liberator as a way to fight through artifacts and enchantments. Massacre for aggro. We have Hearse for graveyard hate. Necromentia for combo hate. Then we have a Status and Statue. I'm not sure what this is for, but it can destroy artifacts and enchantments. So also, I guess it's probably in here for the ability to give something Mayhem Devil the ability to ping something with Death Touch. That's probably what it's for. So interesting card, interesting slots. Like I said, the mana base could be worked out, but if you want to try this, the non-land portion of this deck felt and looked pretty solid overall. But the mana base was the primary issue, so if you work that out, you might have a really good deck here. Let's get into the next. Next on my list is a Seasons Pass deck. Golgari Midrange Seasons Pass. It has been occasionally putting up results. It's not as mainstream as the other Golgari variant that we're going to get into maybe later. And we also have Liliana the Veils as a way to... It's a good card against control, mid-range, stuff like that. We have Duress and Thoughtseize as a way to fight through combo decks. Abrupt Decay is a pretty decent card right now against Spirits. Go Blank for Graveyard Hate / Control Hate. We have Extinction Event, a decent sweeper to run the main because mono green is so dominant. We have Vraska, which is one of the better planeswalkers of the 4-drop slot. Dark Petition to find our Seasons Pass, which we can start looping to get Seasons Pass back with Ballad Recovery. We have Bankbuster for grindy matchups. Then we have Witherbloom Command to fight through Graveyard Hate or whatever we need to hit through. Also drains, kills small things, so it's quite relevant. And then we have Mirrex as an alternative way to win the game against control. We have a couple Field of Ruins to deal with pesky lands, McMahon lands, and nick those. Sideboard wise, we have Ray of Enfeeblement as a way to fight through mono white, also Greasefang, Necromentia to get combo pieces out of opponent's deck. We have Damping Sphere as a way to fight through Lotus Field. Trophy as a way to fight through basically anything, lands, tournaments of any kind. We have Mastery as a way to eat, which I'm kind of wondering why it's Mastery instead of, here's Terror Sunder. So it is an option. You could exile a Planeswalker or a creature. Gargaroth for the grinding matchups where you want card draw and having a 6/6 beater is pretty good against aggro to gain 3 life. Naturally, we could run Kihiri. And then, of course, we have Languish for aggro and then Terror Sunder to fight through Greasefang to eat the Parhelion for good. Also could help stop Worm combo. They'd get the Worm down. You just eat it with the Terror Sunder, with the Masteries and the Terror Sunder. So that is Seasons Pass Golgari Midrange for Pioneer. Let's get into the next. Next on my list is Orzhov Humans. Now, it keeps, of course, the good 1-drops from white. We still have the Copper Cord Coat and the Lieutenant. We pick up better removal with Dire Tactics and Vanishing Verse. We also have a Kudrow and for Graveyard Hate, and can kill like Greasefang, something with 4 power greater. Also, we have Underdog as a recurable threat. Keep drawing cards, turning through our deck as you blitz it. Brutal Cathar for a little bit more removal. Adjacent to this, and we have Adeling, which is one of the better humans. Thali to push off rafts. So that is our centerpiece. We even get to keep Mutavault, which is quite nice. That is Orzhov Humans. Sideboard wise, we have pushes for the aggro matchups. Rest in Peace for Graveyard Hate. Redain to push off Wraths. For the grinding matchups, we have Wedding Announcement. Portable Hole also comes in with Fatal Push against aggro decks. We also have Welcome as a way to help grind through control, stuff like that, where they have a lot of rafts. And we just keep playing threats and drawing cards. And then we have Vanishing Verse for another removal spell we could bring in. It can get Old Girl Troll, many of the green threats which care about die triggers. So those are actually quite nice to have and to bring it in. But keep in mind, like you can't hit Kiora, you can't hit, Karn in that deck. But Vanishing Verse is still a premier removal spell. So that is Orzhov Humans. Like I said, all these decks will be in the description. Go check them out, test them out, tell me how that goes. Let's get into the next. So next on my list is Rakdos Transmogrify. There's been multiple different styles of this list. What really intrigues me about this particular list is Urbrass Forge. So that is the key reason why I'm actually quite interested in this list. For removal, we have pushes and impulse and dreadbore. That's a decent amount of removal and spites. So a lot of instant speed removal and centerclasm as a wrath sweeper of choice. Thoughtseize for and dread Foog as a way to fight through combo. Then we have Obnixilis as a tempo play that we can play down, keep our opponent's hand clean, or just randomly deal them 2 damage if they choose. And then we have Atraxa to get with our transmogrify second main after you make the forge token and attack with it. Sideboard wise, we have Volley for spirits, white, and Greasefang. We have Cinderclasm to fight through aggro pay strategies like Mono Blue Spirits, Elves, stuff like that. Damping Sphere for Lotus Field. Extinction Event for aggro and green. We have 3 Go Blanks for Graveyard Hate with the Hearst, and also decent against control. We have Duress we can bring in instead of these Fatal Pushes against control, combo. And then we have Bankbuster as for the grinding matchups. And of course, since everything in our deck, none of it has more than 1 of Wood Pip, we have Jengatha, so that is a nice free roll. Mana base wise, like I said, the Mutavault and the Mirax should help win the game out of our mana base, along with the Hive and the Den. So those are our main utility lands. So that is Rakdos Transmogrify for Pioneer. Let's get into the next. So this deck got, I believe it was a 3-0 and a prelim. So it's Jeskai Ascendancy. I think I also seen a similar list. Just got a 5-0 as well. But it's kind of interesting because we have, like I said, we do have Ledger Shredder for a beatdown plan if we need to. Emery to get our loop our Mox Ambers. Then we have Archaeologist as a way to fill up our yard with artifacts. Tormod's Crypt can be looped with Helix and our Jeskai Ascendancy. Then we have Sihili as a way to make some tokens every time we cast a spell. And those tokens, of course, could be used for to get big and attack. We have Hazard for utility as a burn spell and a land. We have Death to help dig. Then we have our Helix for combo piece. Treasure Cruise to help keep our hand filled. Consider to help try to find our Jeskai Ascendancy. We have Portable Hole as a way to deal with aggro matchups. We have sideboard wise, we have Volley for the blue, white, and Greasefang matchups. We have Bankbuster for grinding matchups. Spell Pierce as a way to fight through removal. That might want to remove Archaeologist or the Emery, which is a key piece. Then we also, maybe offset Karn, other stuff like that, or, stuff. We have also a Pithy Needle to fight off Karn, Planeswalkers, stuff like that. Definite Clarion is our choice of sweeper, so we can sweep the board after our creatures are big enough and give them lifelink. Smash Face, gain a bunch of life. Just got Justice Strike as a decent removal spell. Can get the best creatures in the format, like Sheoldred. Most of the most played cards in the format can be got by a Justice Strike. We have a Braid for artifact hate and creature removal, spot removal. We have Destroy Evil for the bigger creatures and enchantments like Fable and the Mirror Breaker. We have a single Mystical Dispute. I'm not sure if it should be 2 Mystical Disputes, 2 Spell Pierces, but this helps against blue-based decks where you just want to try to resolve a Jeskai Ascendancy. They might try to counter it. You just Mystical Dispute their counter, and hopefully you have a good time after that. That is Jeskai Ascendancy for Pioneer. Let's get into the next. So a deck that was a key player in the beginning of Pioneer was Heroic. Boros Heroic, other words known as Feather, right? So it kind of fell off favor when Rakdos midrange became a powerhouse, and it had a hard time trying to get those results just because it's very vulnerable to removal spells. But we have Hoplite, Swift Spear, Arcanist, and Legionnaire, and then Illuminator as our primary ways of beating down our opponent. Illuminator is probably the most easiest way to win. Anger helps with that by giving it trample and a huge bonus. Rampage, I think, also gives trample. We have a Spikefield Hazard for utility with the Shelter. We have Courage to give the thing vigilance. hit him. We still have a blocker, so that's quite relevant. We have Reckless Rage to remove the opponent's threats. God's Willing to protect our threats. Then we have Justice Strike as a cheap way of pumping and drawing a card. Sideboard wise, we have Escape to protect our threats. Also I don't think it's relevant, but the artifact, protecting an artifact doesn't seem to be relevant. Portable Hole for aggro. We have Volley for mono white, mono blue. Also, of course, Greasefang. Destroy Evil for Fable the Mirror Breaker, bigger threats. Adonto Vanguard, we could bring in over like the 10th district against like Rakdos midrange where they have heavy amounts of removal. This, at least you can just pay some life and, give it indestructible. Also, against the grindy matchups like Rakdos midrange, we can bring in Showdown on the Scalds to hopefully outvalue our opponent by drawing a bunch of cards. Hopefully those cards help put the game away very fast. So that is Boros Heroic for Pioneer. I'm pretty sure this is also, $174, so it's still relatively cheap. Let's get into the next. Next on my list is Golgari Midrange. Now, the thing that really stands out here is that this midrange deck, of course, is playing Deathrite Shaman, which is not very well, not played that much in Pioneer. Also, it's duly noted that it's playing Grimflare, which is kind of sweet, and Scavenging Ooze, which has been for the most part, you would argue they might have been power crept out of the format. Now, of course, it picks itself up by playing cards like Invoke Despair, which potentially could be a 3-for-1. And then we have a Liliana the Veil to help against a control, other stuff like that. Edict to fight through Bogles. And it's a diverse removal spell. Can get the Planeswalker, can get a non-token. We also have Thoughtseize for the combo matchups. Glissa as a beatdown plan with Shieldred. And then we have Fatal Push. So overall, it looks like a standard stock Golgari midrange, but with Grimflares, which is kind of awesome, and Invoke Despairs. I figured if Golgari is going to be a legit deck in the format, Invoke Despair I think has to be a part of it because it's one of the best spells. And Golgari needs something to pick up the slack that it loses for not having Fable the Mirror Breaker. Sideboard wise, we have Duress for combo and control. We have Go for the Throat to fight through probably like mono white, stuff like that, where you want a decent amount of removal. Long Extinction Event, also pretty good, and Ritual Soot for the aggro matchups. We have Sky Sovereign, as I'm not really sure what this is for. I guess you bring it in instead of Invoke Despair against the aggro matchups. Seems like this is overdoing the aggro matchups. For grindy matchups, we have Bank Buster, so we could bring it in, draw cards, get card advantage. We have 1 Damping Sphere for Lotus Field. So it seems like this sideboard needs a little bit of tweaking. I don't think you need 4 Go for the Throats, maybe only 3 up a Damping Sphere. That sounds a little bit better. And I'm not sure about the 2 Sky Sovereigns. I feel like 1 would be enough. Again, I like running 3 Damping Spheres if I had to. So I think that's what direction I would go with the deck. Let me know down in the comments if you agree or what you think this deck could slightly change to become a better deck. Now, keep in mind that it doesn't really need Graveyard Hate because Scavenging Ooze is in the main board. So there is no Graveyard Hate inside. So let's get into the last deck for the video. So the last deck we're going to talk about is Selesnya Coco. Now, and also we have Cable's Reconstruction. We have Cathar, Archon of Emeria to fight through the combo decks. We have Werewolf Pack Leader as a decent 2-drop that has a high power and toughness and facilitate card draw. Of course, we have 8 Elves, Skyclave Appetizers for removal. 2 Redeem to help push off Rafts. Left Struck Beast has a fat butt, 5/5 for 3, which is really strong stat line. And then, of course, we have Thalia, one of, to make our opponent's lands non-basics come into play tapped. Also, I believe their creatures also come into play tapped. And Archon also helps with the non-basic lands. We have Emeria's Call and the green one, Turn Timber, as utility lands that come our land, or they could also be a decent spell. We have a Ganju, Boseiju, and Lair as our other utility lands. Sideboard wise, we have Shaper Sanctuary for the Rakdos mid-range matchup. Also, it's pretty good against Mayhem Devil. An Ooze for Graveyard Hate with Rest in Peace. Voice of Resurgence for Control. Then we have Guardian of Faith for heavy sweeper decks like Farewell, stuff like that. We protect our threats. There's another Ooze, so I guess there's 2. So there's 4 Graveyard Hate in total. We have 2 Knight of Autumns for artifacts and enchantment removal. Also life gain against burn style decks, aggro matchups. And then we have Redained, also to push off rafts. It seems like we do kind of overcompensate for that. Also, it's pretty good against Rakdos mid-range, where you shut off the ping triggers to be basically no damage. And that is the last deck that I'm going to showcase and talk about today. Yeah, like I said, I want to know which ones interest you the most. What decks do you want to see me play through the Monday series? I want to know all this down in the comment section. And before you head out the door, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and share this video if you like. And until next time, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. Talk to you soon.